involved, and people have shown that they are prepared to get them out, brandish them and threaten them with you. But we are yet to identify those two suspects in the video, and we're very keen to do so.
As the footage unfolds, the two masked men can clearly be seen threatening workers at the Co-op store in Brighton not long before Christmas with a large kitchen knife. They then usher them to the back of the shop before demanding money from the safe, finally grabbing more cash from the tills before running away. The two men ran off northwards along Old London Road, escaping with about £2,500 in cash. They're both described as white with Irish accents and were wearing black hooded tops. The robbery here is now being linked to a second 4 days later, on the 20th of December, committed by a man wearing a Santa hat. During that incident at a Co-op store in nearby Southampton, a female member of staff was assaulted, suffering several broken ribs. The thief stole £2,000 before getting into a car believed to be a silver Ford Focus hatchback. Police have today renewed their appeal for witnesses and information regarding both crimes. Staff in the first on December the 16th were unhurt but understandably shaken by their ordeal. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News, Brighton.
More news, and a woman from Hampshire has died after she and her husband were tortured at their home in South Africa. Susan Howarth, who was 64 and originally from Southsea, was shot by armed raiders at her farm in Dullstroom. Her ashes will be flown to Southsea to be buried with her parents. Local media reports there have said there have been 5 arrests.
3 men have been charged after a large cannabis factory was found in a former nuclear bunker near Salisbury. Several thousand cannabis plants with a street value of £1 million were discovered on former MOD land at Chilmark. The men have been charged with conspiracy to produce cannabis, abstracting electricity without authority and conspiring to hold another person in slavery. They'll appear in court tomorrow.
A car carrier with 21 crew on board has caught alight after sailing out of Southampton. The fire started on board the American ship Honour this morning en route to Baltimore. The ship turned back and has anchored off the Isle of Wight. Onboard systems extinguished the blaze. A maritime and coast guard officer and fire officers have been airlifted on board to assess the damage before the ship returns to Southampton.
Cuts to youth services have been reversed in Brighton and Hove by councillors last night. The budget was expected to be reduced by up to 75% of £800,000. Although £205,000 will still be cut, council tax will go up almost 5% from April. On an average Band D property, that's an extra £69 a year, in line with most other authorities in the south.
A 28-year-old man has been arrested after a man was stabbed in the centre of Southampton. The victim, in his 20s, was rushed to hospital after the incident at the junction of Carlton Crescent and Carlton Place at lunchtime on Wednesday.
The RMT union's calling for urgent talks with managers of Southern Rail after talks to end the dispute over driver-only operated trains broke down last week. In a letter, the RMT's General Secretary, Mick Cash, says he wants the two sides to meet ahead of a union meeting on Tuesday, which is due to consider further strikes. Southern says it's reviewing its response.
A courageous young father whose life changed because of a devastating infection has embarked on the latest step to lead a normal life.
Alex Lewis from Stockbridge in Hampshire had to have all 4 limbs amputated and part of his face removed.
He was a healthy 33-year-old before he fell ill with what he thought was a cold in November 2013. But he was given just a 3% chance of survival after developing Strep A toxic shock syndrome.
Within a year, he was up on temporary artificial legs and learning how to use prosthetic arms. Just a few months after this, he did a charity skydive, and last September he kayaked more than 100 miles around Greenland.
The hardest thing for Alex wasn't the amputations, but the facial disfigurement, which meant his own son was afraid of him. Now a leading celebrity makeup artist has offered to give Alex his mouth back. Kerry Swain went with him for his first appointment.
Technique, which is basically it's just dots. So all we're doing now by adding dots in there, we're just building up colour.
Alex Lewis joked to me that he assumed he'd get his first tattoo while drunk after a night out. His sense of humour has carried him through some of the darkest days a man can endure. This is how Alex used to look. Then, at the age of 33, a strep A infection, which usually causes nothing more than a sore throat, robbed him of all 4 limbs and disfigured his face so badly he frightened his own son.
He wouldn't hug me, he certainly wouldn't kiss me. And we had a long process of initially it was very sad for me and equally as sad for him.
Alex has travelled to Harley Street hoping his face can be improved. A plastic surgeon rebuilt his lips using skin from his shoulder. Now he has an appointment with a leading cosmetic and medical tattoo artist. When television presenter Katie Piper had acid thrown in her face, it was Karen Betts who helped restore her looks by tattooing eyebrows, eyes and lips. Celebrities pay a fortune for Karen's skill, but she's treating Alex free of charge.
And I'm going to blend that outside, and then I'm going to work with the colour what you've got underneath here, because I can see all your lip shape, which is under here. I just knew that I needed to help Alex, so needed to give him his mouth back. I just saw the story about you wanted to be able to kiss your little boy. Yeah, and I just was like, oh, that would touch me. I think this colour's looking really good.
Alex will visit Karen every month for a year.
How hard has the facial disfigurement been for, a previously very good-looking man?
It was certainly the hardest part. The amputations, we understood. The facial disfigurement visually was the one that everyone saw first, and it was the one that my son struggled with the most. I think for me, and I think for Sam, it's important we get it done, but I think for Sam to then hopefully see his dad of what he can remember prior to all this happening, I think that's really important.
A little bit of your 5-day-old shadow.
The NHS saved Alex's life, but he's battling to raise hundreds of thousands of pounds to ensure a quality of life. He needs artificial limbs not available on the NHS. Raising money is a constant concern. Grateful that the hope of a more normal-looking face comes without an expensive price ticket. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
An extraordinary man, and you can follow Alex's remarkable story on our website. That's where you can also get all of today's news here in the South. The address, of course, itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, do please give us a call. 0808 10 10 095 is the number to ring, or get in touch via Facebook, or if you prefer, why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
And the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Charlene White.
Corbyn are under pressure after Labour lose a by-election in a seat they've held for 82 years. Theresa May hails the Conservative win in Copeland as astounding. But the Labour leader, whose party did win a by-election in Stoke, says he has no intention of standing down. And no revolt over Ranieri. Leicester deny the players forced him out as boss. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
We will, thank you. More news now in our region, and a woman has been killed when she was struck by a road sweeping vehicle. She was on her way to collect her child from a minder in Swindon. It happened outside Arkell's Brewery on Beechcroft Road.
Property prices in parts of the south are rising more quickly than in London, according to new figures. Property analyst HomeTrack has found Oxford has the fastest growth in our region, with a 9.2% house price rise year on year. The average cost of a home in Oxford is now more than £430,000. Property prices in Southampton have risen 8% to £223,000, and homes in Bournemouth have gone up 6.6%, with the average property costing more than £275,000.
If a third runway is to be built at Heathrow, the government needs to show it won't exceed legal limits on air pollution. That's according to MPs on an environmental committee, who say not enough is being done to demonstrate that environmental impacts can be mitigated.
An ambitious project to restore a steam locomotive has left volunteers calling for more help. The Watercress Line is looking for any skilled machinist to bring the Canadian Pacific back to its former glory. More than 450 volunteers give their time to the historic steam railway.
Eminem has been announced as the final headliner for this year's Reading Festival. It'll be the third time the rapper has returned to the event. The festival, which is held at Richfield Avenue, is taking place over the August bank holiday weekend. Other headliners include Muse and Kasabian.
Now, what makes a classic car? That's a big debate in motoring circles where passions can run high in discussions over which make and model from days gone by was the best.
One thing is for certain, though, get the right car back into the right condition and there's money to be made. Kevin Ashford has been to one of the biggest classic car shows to find out more.
450 SEL 6.9.
They're from a different era, when cars came in all shapes and sizes. Some of those shapes rather more unusual than others. Getting those cars back to their prime and even using them for racing is a booming business. Firms like this one based at Reading.
A lot more fun to drive, and there's a lot more driver input. They're not kind of digital like a modern GT car or single-seater. With the tyres they're on and everything, they slide, and yeah, it's quite exciting.
So what's the attraction of these cars? Well, there's the history, there's the nostalgia, and to be perfectly honest, they do look rather lovely, don't they? The trouble is that some of them aren't that easy to get into. Oh dear, especially at my age. I'm in, never going to get out.
And then, of course, there's the question of how much the vehicles are now worth. Some of the price tags might not be so surprising. This collection of Ferraris, for instance, is valued at £150 million. But other car makes and shapes that were once more commonplace sights on our streets, well, they can fetch a decent price too.
Well, what is a classic car? Because that seems to be a debate about that.
Yes, you're right. There's a big debate. For me, I think some cars become instant classics. Supercars are good at that. And then I'd say broadly sort of 1995, but I'm no expert on a date. But if you think of things that you remember as a kid, they're the cars that then become the ones you want to buy when you're older.
So if you want to get a bit misty-eyed over your motoring memories, the show is on all weekend. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
OK, now the sport with the one and only Andrew Payton. There can only be one major top-of-the-bill headline, Sangeeta. It is Wembley! Wembley!
A little bit excited. It is Cup final weekend. Southampton take on Manchester United at Wembley in the EFL Cup final. And the players, the fans, the ex-players and the celebrity fans are all getting excited.
Time for an early bath.
Selco, sponsoring ITV Meridian Sports Report.
It's been nearly 40 years since Southampton last played a major cup final at Wembley, so the fans are making the most of it. Back in 1979, the Saints lost the League Cup final to Nottingham Forest, despite taking the lead. And a goal! This time the team are going out with just one thing on their minds.
There's a saying in Portuguese that is, finals you don't play them, you win them. So I think this is the mentality we should go into the game. We need to know that we gave everything inside the pitch. This is the feeling I will be leaving at Wembley for sure.
In '79, Southampton were up against Brian Clough, the manager who called himself Old Big Ed. On Sunday, they faced the manager who calls himself the Special One.
Jose Mourinho has shown a real liking for this competition in his managerial career, so hopefully we can actually stop him from getting his first trophy at Manchester United. Yeah, by all means, if he wants to go win another trophy, that's great, but yeah, if you can let us win this one for now.
I think Manchester United are going to really have to kind of check themselves this time, do you know what I mean? Because we are going to come correct, in my opinion, and you can hold me to this. But I think we're going to have a really good day. Do you know what I mean? If we play the way that I've seen them play in moments throughout the season, yeah, Manchester United are going to have some troubles.
This time, the 32,000 supporters going think their journey home will be more enjoyable.
I remember when they won the FA Cup in '76. I was 11, and I remember watching them, and no one thought they could beat Man United then, and they did, and it was amazing. So I'm full of hope.
On the way back, it'd be great. Because they get on the bridges when we win, don't they? All the way down the motorway. So.
No luck for Laurie McMenemy then, but he remains the only Southampton manager to win a major trophy, the FA Cup in '76. Could Claude Puel join him by beating Manchester United again on Sunday? So could Claude follow in Laurie's footsteps? There's only one person to ask, Fred.
I'm delighted to say the legend who is Laurie McMenemy joins us now. Lovely to see you again, sir. I remember interviewing you and Brian Clough before that '79 League Cup final in a working men's club in the North East. Cloughie was quite a character, wasn't he?
He was a terrific character, yes. And I'd like to see him around now, mixing with people like Mr. Mourinho and company. And I'd like to see the competition. There would only be one winner. And Mr. Clough, he was a good manager. People forget that sometimes, but he won lots of things. I mean, he won the League Cup, about 4 times, I think. Never won the FA Cup, and that was his life's ambition. You did. Well, yeah, I reminded him now and again.
And Laurie, this time you are up against Jose Mourinho. Is he the special one in your opinion?
Well, you can't knock his record. I mean, he normally comes to a club and wins something the first year, hopefully not this year. The second year he upsets people, and the third year he clears off. But on paper, he's won lots of things. And I think he came out with a good statement last week. I don't always agree with what he says, but he said that he underestimated the FA Cup when he first came, but now he's realised how important it is to supporters and everybody else, and he's telling other coaches coming in from abroad, hey, take it more seriously.
And of course, 1976, the FA Cup. Saints the big underdogs that year against Man United. Can the team this year learn anything from that? Well,
first of all, they're in the same division, obviously. I think that Mr. Puel will probably remind them they beat Liverpool in the semi-finals. It was only 1-0 at home. I mean, I was there for that game, and it could have been 2 or 3. Liverpool would have put their hands up, and I thought, oh dear, that's not enough going up to Anfield. A draw will be enough, But they didn't draw, they won. So if I was managing now, I'd say, look, they're above Man United in the league. If you're beating them, why can't you beat these on a day when you've got half of all of Southampton behind them, haven't they? Even Fred.
How special is this for the Saints fans?
Well, it's terrific. I mean, the best days out they ever had. In the League Cup when we lost, they still had a fantastic day. But when all of us oldies are signing little programmes and that for the youngsters, the father or grandfather said, this is the man that was manager when they won the Cup. Not when they were second in the league or did anything else. The Cup had that thing which is still there. I meet people in the street in Romsey, they can tell you where they were the day after. Yeah. When they around the town, and the biggest ever turnout, wasn't it? And it should have took 45 minutes and it took 4.5 hours.
1-0 to the Saints?
That will do fine.
That will do very nicely. Great to see you again.
Brilliant. Thank you.
That was for you.
Of course.
But Andrew, that's not the only big match this weekend, is it?
That's right, Fred. There is a massive game at the Amex Stadium as the chase for promotion to the Premier League really hots up. Second place Brighton hosting fourth place Reading.
I think it goes without saying, it adds more meaning to the game. Ultimately, it's about 3 points, but it does add more meaning to the game, and certainly one that it would be an advantage for us to win. So yes, it's in the nature of where we are at the moment. Yes, it's a big game. Yeah.
So tomorrow, Bournemouth are looking for their first win of 2017 at West Brom, while Brighton and Reading clash in the Championship at 5:30. It's an away day for all our other teams, which includes a League Two meeting between 5th place Portsmouth and 3rd place Carlisle. Now on Sunday, thousands of people will be taking part in the Brighton Half Marathon, many raising money for charity, all of them pushing themselves along the 13-mile course, which starts at 9 o'clock in the morning on Madeira Drive next to the Steve Ovett statue and goes along the seafront. And I'm delighted to say David Hill, the event manager, joins me now. David, what can people expect on Sunday?
Well, I suppose the first thing, Andrew, is that they can expect to be joined by around 10,000 other runners. We've had record registrations this year, and it's going to be a great day. And of course, you know, it's a very iconic course. It's a very flat course. And people are often there, you know, to try and achieve a personal best. And I can tell you as well that Paul Martelletti is running again and will be defending his title as winner of the race for the 5th consecutive year if he wins on Sunday.
And what would be your advice to those actually taking part?
Well, do you know, I've been delivering the race for the last 3 years, and I ran it the year before I actually helped deliver it. And I would just say to people they should enjoy it. You know, it's one of the first big runs in the national running calendar. It's the first big event in the city's calendar. And I think whatever you're there to do, whatever time you're there to achieve, you know, you should really enjoy it. It's a fantastic event.
Brilliant. David Hill, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, good luck to everyone taking part, and good luck to all our teams here and at Wembley.
Come on, you Saints!
Come on, you Saints.
Absolutely. Andrew, thank you. Now, the great works of art can, of course, be found in the likes of Paris, London, New York and Rome.
Yes, but in recent times, tourists have been flocking to a new destination in a small church at Goring in Sussex for an encounter with a masterpiece.
Yes, it's 25 years since parishioner Gary Bevan completed his recreation of the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and it now truly has global appeal. Here's Andy Dickinson.
Another coachload of visitors enters what's become the second most popular attraction in the Worthing area. This unassuming church hiding the world's only hand-painted replica of the Sistine Chapel ceiling and a major tourist draw.
It's absolutely breathtaking.
It's really
we
lovely.
thought it'd be lovely, but it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
He would have had to have been extremely devoted to doing this work, and how you could do it and work a full-time job otherwise takes some doing, wouldn't it?
It's overpowering. Fabulous. It's worth the visit, and I'd recommend it to other people.
Now a deacon of the church, Gary Bevans hadn't been allowed to go to art school, so was a sign writer when he began his recreation. Here speaking to our cameras almost 30 years ago.
I worked out a planned drawing of the ceiling to see whether it's actually feasible to go up there. And it worked, so it was a slow progression from then, painting on the ceiling.
Michelangelo took 4 years to complete his famous work. It took Gary a year and a half longer, although he was only working in his spare time. But it now receives an audience from across the globe, around 27,000 in the last 2 years.
Well, it's one ordinary man, if I dare say that, but he is an ordinary man, a very shy man, and it's 5.5 years of his spare time, and that's his offering, really. He says that he just held the brush. That's how he feels. He just held the brush. The fact that he was a sign writer with the skills to fit it in, maybe the hand of God was there.
Visitors from Africa, Australia, Canada and America have all made recent pilgrimages to the church, just 2/3 the size of its Sistine cousin. All keen to arch their backs and gaze at its splendour, their necks not aching perhaps quite as much as Gary's did. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Goring.
Stunning, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Good way to get rid of a double chin. Simon's with us now. Simon, what's...
try that. I have some natural art for you here. Yesterday, of course, Storm Doris was doing her thing. Have a look at this video that came in. This is brilliant. From Yaverland Beach, Emma Payne was walking her dogs and she filmed this. That's the sand being whipped up by Storm Doris. Pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, just look at that. It looks stunning, the way that it just kind of runs in line. A mini sandstorm there. Now, because I have too much time on my hands, I found out the average grain of sand weighs approximately 50 micrograms, with a grain of very fine sand weighing as little as 350 nanograms. Now, a microgram is the equivalent of 1 millionth of a gram, and a nanogram is equal to 1 billionth of a gram. So it's no wonder they get whipped up in 60 mile an hour winds.
Oh, they're
fascinating.
When it comes up in a pub quiz, I promise you'll be glad that I told you that.
No,
but we got some other pictures as well. Frank Leopard also risked getting sand in his eyes when he took these pictures. Look at that, amazing. You can see it kind of going up over the side of the concrete there. Isn't that amazing? Brilliant
Nice
shots.
pictures.
And of course, we like the dramatic shots from the seaside too. Steve Regan took a couple of pictures of the choppy sea on the south coast. This was Mudderford Quay. Close up of a wave breaking there, isn't that brilliant? But look at this one. That's a wave breaking out to sea. Isn't it amazing? Yeah. Fantastic pictures. And thank you to everyone who sent in. The Doris pictures keep on turning up in my inbox.
Decent weekend you're going to give us?
Well, I might give you another spell of wet and windy stuff, if you don't mind.
I do mind.
Thanks.
But what do I know? He knows it all. Simon.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, after such a stormy day yesterday, today was much, much calmer. Certainly started well. This was first thing in Brighton, and thanks to Kev for going out early with his camera. Tomorrow probably won't look quite so clever. It will be breezy, plus there'll be a fair bit of cloud, and that's because we've got various weather fronts coming our way. One coming overnight tonight, then a largely dry start to Sunday before another one comes along, and then as we head into Monday, some very showery and unsettled conditions to look forward to. For tonight, though, it's dry. Fair bit of cloud. We will see the wind increasing as we head through this evening. By the end of the night, we're looking at gusts of 30, 35 miles an hour along the coast and around the Isle of Wight, and there'll be some patchy outbreaks of rain too. So for first thing tomorrow morning, frost-free with temperatures around 5-6 degrees, but certainly grey and quite blowy. As we head through the morning, it's a mostly dry start to the day. Then we'll see the outbreaks of rain start to arrive again, light and patchy to begin with, perhaps turning a bit more persistent as the afternoon goes on. Temperatures tomorrow back up into double figures, which is fairly mild, but you won't notice because of the strength of that breeze, particularly if you're anywhere near the sea. If you're off to the racing at Lingfield tomorrow, which you'll also find on ITV4, then take your brolly with you because it is going to get a bit wet as the afternoon goes on, although your brolly might blow inside out because of that wind. But your high tide times tomorrow, well, you can see in Brighton around 10:20 in the morning, then 22:11 in the evening, and then Sunday is going to be a dry start, but there'll be quite a bit of cloud around. There'll be a few bright spells here and there. Temperatures still into double figures, but later on in the day we'll see some rain turn up, and we start Monday with a fair few showers.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that's how things are looking this Friday night. In just a moment, we've got the ITV Evening News with Charlene White.
Stacey's got our late news, but for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Have a good, happy and peaceful weekend, and see you again on Monday. From us all, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy weekend.